Can you appeal your tax valuation?
You certainly can. You certainly can. So, North Carolina, you have to, at a minimum, you have to get, the county's required to evaluate your property every 8 years. And a lot can happen in 8 years. A lot can happen with values and pricing. You know, I've seen ups and downs or whatever. I've seen, after the crash of '07 and '08, I've seen golf course lots at Chapel Ridge that had a tax evaluation of like 160, 180,000, and we would have been lucky to get 35 or 40,000 for them. So obviously, you know, the evaluation wasn't right at that time. But then, you know, a few years later, you'll see people that will have a house, and you know it's at 150,000, and the market value might be double that. It could be 300,000. So there are certainly situations where I think overall, Chatham County does a great job. I think they're pretty close. Usually, I can tell you on average, they're like 90% of the tax value is probably 90% of market value, which is pretty close. And you know they're throwing it. They're kind of doing the analytics like Zillow does. They throw it all into the same blender, and so sometimes they get it right and sometimes they get it wrong. I certainly wouldn't look at a tax evaluation and say this is what it's worth. I mean, I would say the majority of the time they get it right, but when they get it wrong, they get me really, really wrong. I mean, I recently had sold a house where the tax evaluation was $975, and ended up selling for a couple $100,000 less than that. So you know, my seller probably should have appealed that evaluation when it came in. And I've had land tracts that evaluated at 200,000 that we sold north of $1 million. So. You know, the value price, what the county says, isn't always what market value is, but on average it's close. Yeah, you can appeal it, and you know you just have to have your ducks in a row. I mean, you have to. So they have an arbitration board, and you go before them and come in there with facts. And I think the last time that we did an evaluation in Chatham County, 10% of the people disputed what their evaluation was, and of that 10%, the county lowered it 75% of the time. So you know, a high success rate. They didn't lower it very much, but you know, everybody needs to feel as though they got to win. Rarely, but you know, you just need to know this. If you decide to go through the appeals process and you don't like how your evaluation, you've opened the door for it to go either way, so they can say, oh, well, glad you brought this up, Eric. In fact, we believe your property is actually worth more than what we evaluated it on. And that's very rare, but you need to know that that's part of the gamble. That is a risk of what can happen. You know, it's not hard to get the data. You can call up a real estate agent to help you, or you know, you can go and look at some of the area sales. But you know, one of the funny things that we have happen all the time is I have people come in and they're really, really upset. I can't believe my place went from 185 to 300. And I'll say, well,